Hello and welcome back to a new video. Yes, that's correct. We have finished Blizzcon. Unfortunately, I wasn't there in person, even though I really wanted to. That's how it is sometimes. I really have been enjoying Blizzcon and watching what's been coming up in terms of news for World of Warcraft, and especially retail. And in this video, I'm gonna try to catch my perspective, at least, on the TLDR, on what's happening with retail, and in terms of World of Warcraft, the War Within. They announced some really interesting things in the opening ceremony, bringing back also maybe the best stage speaker they have to this day, Chris Metzen, talking about World of Warcraft and the saga within. Or World of Warcraft and the War Within, with also talking about the future. And the future being World Soul Saga. They did not just leak or present us information about one expansion, but also two more, so in total 3 expansions. I'm not gonna watch any movies or anything in content. Everything is gonna be just screenshots, and we're gonna go through the TLDR and some of the changes that I think are extremely good. And in terms of changes, we're just gonna jump straight into it. We're gonna have focus about the deep dive that was from day 2. You do have this website to go through if you wanted to look more into what World Within and the world has to offer. But this is where we are gonna have our focus. We're gonna start with delves. And in terms of delves, going into War Within, the huge news are delves, in my opinion. And also presented from them, it's going to be a new Endgame. And for me, this is super exciting because I've been trying to kind of say, or trying to tell, or trying to understand why we couldn't have equal footing for people that can't commit, or people that don't have the time, people that have other complications with not having the time or commitment to join pugs, guilds, and wanting to do PvE and enjoying the world in the same pace as the other that can do that commitment. So delves are going to be for 1 to 5 players, and it's also going to be added to the weekly vault. It's going to be a seasonal structure. You're going to have some kind of rewards. They didn't go into specifics in rewards or some such, but I'm really hoping for some kind of progress towards, or some kind of way of getting, alternative way of getting raid rewards from this. That is what I'm hoping, at least, because the infinite chase of BIS and best gear and getting them only from raid in the last couple of tires has been a bit, for me at least, it's a lack of accessibility for people that don't have the commitment again. So I think it's a step in the right direction. They are talking about one of the first ones that you're gonna have in season is Brand Bronzebear is gonna join you on the journey, but there's not gonna be any kind of requirement of being more than 1 or 5 players. It's gonna be the same, and they're trying to implement this as an option for those, in my opinion though, that doesn't have the time or commitment to a pug or a raid, or even don't want to step their foot into Mythic Plus maybe. But I'm not 100% sure on this, but this is what I'm hoping for at least. So I think it's super good, and yeah, super exciting to have a brand new endgame. And what this reminds me of is Delve taken from Path of Exiles. I have a small picture here you look to, which is kind of like a mining cart that goes down with a lantern, and they will also expressing this during the talk through in the deep dive about you're having a cart, you go down and you meet the kobolds with lights that would light up the path in which way you go. But the delves can vary in terms of seasonal and challenges and themes, and it can be puzzles, it can be loot, it can be a guardian that stands in front of the door of the loot and such. So there's I think you can say that it's kind of like unlimited possibilities. Then we have Warbands, which might be the most cherished of everything in terms of people wanting this for a long time. And it's so good to see that they have a huge focus going into this new new expansion with more focus on alts, on accessibility, flexibility, and making it so much more alt friendly. Warbands is going to be a shared progression between all your characters, and it's going to have shared banks, shared reputation. You can craft from any kind of character you have. It's gonna have no player power into it. It's just gonna remove the awkwardness that has been in terms of sending mail over and sending your currency over to your alt because you want to progress and things like that. It's even gonna have something like some uniques to it, which are not gonna be overpowering. In terms, they said something about it's not going to be like insane powers from it. It's going to be a lower item level than you actually have, but it's something you can send to your alt, so it doesn't start from like the previous expansion, which in my opinion is a great contribution for making it a lot more alt friendly. Same goes for you can see on the integration here, Warbands. They also took in Transmog Collection, and I think many people might misunderstand what that means. But you can farm Transmog on a mage that are leather, plate, whatever type, mail, and even weapons as well. But it doesn't mean that you can transmog plate onto a mage. It only means that you can farm and unlock every transmog on whatever tune that you're doing it with. So you don't have to do every sets of armor going through, and that's like a huge benefit for collectors. Also in terms of collectors and maybe completionists, you will have shared achievements, which was explained, and as far as I take it to understanding, you can craft, let's say 400 on one character and then the rest of the 100 on another character, and it goes through like a global achievement for that account. So it's a huge thing, and they're making it so accessible for alts to coexist with your main. And it's super exciting to see how they are implementing it. Here we also have the Warband starting screen. As they also were mentioning, which is kind of huge, is the fact that we are getting cross faction or cross server which means that you don't have to change between servers to access the character you want to play, and it can include in your warband no matter what server it were on. Again, accessibility and a huge step in just the thing that people maybe love the most in this game, just completing things, curiosity about collecting, and making it include on every single character instead, or your account though, instead of having to manually go into every single character to do specific tasks. Further on, they were going into, we're jumping to hero talents now, which is the new system that are going to be included when you are going to level from 70 to 80. The level cap is going to be raised with 10 levels. You're going to have 10 new talent points to put in, I think it was said. And it's going to be a unique way of personalizing. At least you're gonna deep dive into your speciality as the class has to offer. Which you can see here is Druid, for example, gets something called Keeper of the Grove, which amplifies what Keeper of the Grove could mean, because this is not final, of course. This is in judgment to change. But they want to give like a unique feeling of personalizing your class in a sense, but being careful though, to not go down too wide and too broad in a system, which would make it hard to like justify in the future. Because going into Dragonflight, they took like a big leap or big chance in rebuilding every single kind of talent tree. Excuse me, in terms of a more evergreen way of perceiving what they are building on. So the evergreen system is super good and they are still building on it, and I think this is a unique and intriguing way of exploring your toon and your character. So it will be extremely interesting to see what you can do with this, and if it can bring some uniqueness to it, because Iron, which presented this deep dive, also were on point and saying they don't want to homogenize it too much, so you don't feel it blend out or making it extremely shallow. But they want to try to make it a class fantasy and making it specialized and unique to your class and what you want to choose. These are going to be talents just as we have today though, and it's going to be no like back to Shadowlands, which you had covenants and the crystals you had to expend or something to change. No, it's not going to be nothing like that. It's going to be what we can do today and just swap around on the fly. They are making an example out of Druid first and foremost on this presentations, because Druids are complicated as they say, and they have 4 specs with 3 roles. So we can see here, going in further on the hero spec list, there's some really interesting names, at least for now. And I'm super intrigued with this because it looks so diverse and it looks like a extremely huge variety and choice that are gifted in the hands of the player. So I really hope the uniqueness will shine and there will be possibilities to make a lot of different choices for players going forward. But again, the hero spec list is subject to change and they are looking forward to feedback, but they are aiming to have all of this hero spec list ready to go from the release of alpha, so they can start building on it and developing it as soon as possible. But a huge evergreen project, again, building on. And it's, to me, super exciting, super exciting. Further on, we have the Earthen allied race that were presented, which is kind of like a new dwarven type that we get, but can be played with both Horde and Alliance. They don't have any racial yet, which is kind of exciting because, at least for me, I kind of play Mythic Plus on a decent high level, not on the top level, but there's always kind of like a abyss in terms of what is best to play. So it's going to be exciting to see, but then again, Earthen Allied race doesn't have a racial right now. This will be, as it says on the screenshot, play War Within campaign to unlock. There's no reputation. It's going to be playable as soon, and it's going to be like fluid with getting to know them. You're soon going to unlock your chance to play the race. Dynamic flying is here to stay, or dragon flying, call it what you want, and it's kinda self-explanatory in my opinion, because maybe the biggest talking point as soon as alpha or beta was launched for Dragonflight was dragon flying. And it's just like a natural step of including this into the main game. It's gonna be embraced into becoming the default way of flying. It's gonna expand to your mount collection. Maybe not every mount you have today, because there's some restrictions in terms of some old models. But in even coming up now, before the expansion in 10.2.5, you can fly in Eastern Kingdoms, Eastern Kingdom, Outland, Northrend, and wherever. And if you don't like it and would like to toggle back to the TBC flying, you still can do it. I think on the fly, right? So if you're struggling with maintaining momentum with your rigor, you can toggle back to TBC flying. And in terms of the dragon flying and the glyph system, it's of course going to be included, and also the new leveling zone is going to be Dragonflight. So default, you're going to be very quickly. I think it's like some of the first main storylines in Dragonflight that you learn dragon flying. So very quickly you will be exposed to the new default flying, which is great in my opinion. It's super great that they are implementing it so fast. And here we go. Glyphs are shifting into an evergreen system, new default for leveling players, and so forth and so on. New Battleground, extremely raw footage, which kinda doesn't maybe do it any favors here, but at least they are highlighting that it's long overdue that there's been no new Battlegrounds. This one should be inspired by Silver Shard Mines, pushing a minecart, promise of more to come in terms of new BGs though, but this at least is a raw footage of what is to come for it. So PvP is getting some emphasis here, which is really good, and also in terms of what Ion said, is an essential part of the game. This should be 10 versus 10 though, this map and the new Battleground. Also coming up though, in 10.2 is solo queue RBGs. So in terms of that experiment, they are depending on what we will see, how they can approve it or take it or integrate it into War Within. So PvP is also getting some new looks, and it's super exciting for me at least. rated Battlegrounds has always been a lighter step in terms of a casual PvPer than jumping straight into arenas. And also reminds me a lot more about world PvP, which I enjoyed back in the day, instead of arenas. So I'm super excited to test it out, as it comes now only in 10.2 already. Further on, they were talking about improving UI and interface, and even more, I guess you can say. And this is a screenshot from your spell book, talents and specialization, and it looks really clean, it looks really good, and I can't stress this more, that the UI and interface getting always worked on is a huge step in the right direction, because it's been so long forgotten, and they took a huge leap with Dragonflight, and it's an evergreen project they can keep on working on, and for me it's just a huge step in the right direction. So keep it coming, and hopefully we can improve it, and there's no other thing that might be, for me at least personally, a more hassle is setting up the UI all the time. So having it default in the game and improving it would be huge going forward. And cross-realm guilds, again, accessibility and huge change in terms of recruitments in mythic guilds, and being able to day one cross-realm mythic raiding. It's super accessible, super exciting, and extremely fun for people that are on dead realms maybe, or have like 20 tunes on one realm, and having to leave one is, or leave with one to join a guild, might be hard. So tearing down the old barriers was their main goal, and making it more accessible. And like, it's just like you can feel like the huge shift in terms of mindset in Blizzard and World of Warcraft going forward. And I guess that was it, at least from what I collected so far, and this is the TLDR at least. If you want to go more in depth, you can check out the YouTube video for World of Warcraft's own channel. And for me at least, this is more than we expected. I think many people have said that, like, we get 3 expansions we can look forward to. World Soul Saga, which is a tongue twister for me at least. I think it's like it's a huge thing to have something you can progress through, like, gradually, and see that you are working towards a goal. And I think it's like a super important thing to have evergreen systems getting continuously worked on and worked towards. Any questions or anything specific you want to ask me, make sure to leave a comment below. If you like this sort of content, like and subscribe to this YouTube. As I've said earlier, there will be coming more things about Blizzard, and there's a lot to take in after a weekend like this, because they kind of did go above and beyond in terms of content coming. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm live most of the days on my own Twitch channel. Check in if you want some live feedback right there. I'll be playing more Blizzard games, of course. And I'm super excited for the future of World of Warcraft. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and catch you next time. Adios.